had a really great plan for our unboxing video for NVIDIA's flagship RTX 4090. I was gonna unbox the Founders Edition, but then our lab said, sorry Linus, we need it for benchmarking. So I wasn't able to do that. Then I was gonna unbox one from EVGA. So we'll settle for the next best thing. Check out this. It's the RTX 4090 from Zotac. That's right, friends. Love gaming, power the win. Here we go. This GPU starts at $1,600 US, which means all the cool features and performance you're about to hear about can be yours 5 to 6 years from now once the price drops to a more worldly level. This bad boy features over 16,000 of NVIDIA's CUDA cores, 24 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory, and wow, a whopping power consumption of 450 watts, which necessitates, this is cool, this new PCI Express Gen 5 12-pin power connector. Not only does it have 12-volt and ground pins, but it also has these sense pins that allow your GPU and your power supply to communicate their capabilities with each other to ensure that your system will never run out of spec. Now, there's been quite a bit of discussion online about the fragility of these connectors. Apparently, bending them at a really extreme angle can cause them to heat up. This is actually true of typical PCI Express power connectors as well, but what I will say is that the problem is probably exacerbated by the tiny pins. I wonder what the motivation was for that. When you consider that the graphics cards these things are gonna be attached to are so big. Oh, feel like it's too hot for TV. But I'm gonna show it to you. This monster. Turbos up to 2.52 gigahertz in the Founders Edition configuration, and overclocked cards could end up exceeding that, 2.23 gigahertz base. And in spite of all that, NVIDIA claims that configured with a Radeon 5900X CPU, you shouldn't need more than an 850 watt power supply in order to power it. Now, what's really interesting to me, looking at a card this size, it has a whopping 3, what appear to be 110 millimeter fans, but the actual length of the PCB is only up to here, which means that this solid ass hunk of aluminum fins all down the back, which also has a pass-through, so you can see this fan right here is just blowing straight through the cooler, is all needed to cool this thing. Good gravy. Now, since everything but the unboxing is still embargoed by NVIDIA, I'm not able to share any of our own performance, thermal, or power consumption numbers with you guys, but we can make some guesses as to where the RTX 4090 is going to stack up in NVIDIA's lineup, just based on the slides that they've published. They didn't tell us too much about performance in traditional rasterized games, but we did see anywhere from 2 to as much as 4 times the performance in games using RTX ray tracing and their new DLSS 3.0 technology, so it's worth talking about those things. More importantly though, this video is brought to you by Vessi footwear. Vessi footwear is known for being lightweight, easy to pack, comfortable, and most importantly, water resistant with their Dymatex technology. Their everyday move line is designed with added support at the midsole and better breathability to keep up with your active lifestyle. You can take them off and put them on with ease thanks to the handy pull tab, and they're made creature-free, so every step you take will be guilt-free, unless you're stepping on creatures, in which case you should feel pretty bad. Your feet will thank you for wearing these though, even if the creatures you're stepping on don't. So say goodbye to wet socks and save $25 with our offer code ShortCircuit at vessi.com/shortcircuit. First up, DLSS 3.0 is looking kind of amazing. The first 2 generations of DLSS were pretty straightforward. We rendered at a lower resolution, then used machine learning to upscale that rendered out image to a higher resolution, improving visual fidelity while hopefully not having too many artifacts or anomalies. DLSS 3.0 takes it to a whole new level, generating entire frames in between your existing frames to help smooth out animations. I have to wonder if there's going to be a significant latency hit, especially at the kinds of frame rates where you would need such a technology, but that's something we're only going to be able to talk about once we can actually measure it. The other big one though, is that their new ray tracing cores are supposedly up to double the performance and efficiency of their old ones, which has led to some absolutely mind-bending demos, okay? This RC race car demo that NVIDIA produced, I think they say 30 of their artists work on it, apparently uses no pre-baked lighting whatsoever. So we are just looking at material physics to create these effects. That is the kind of thing that I have dreamed about in games since I was old enough to dream about it. High school maybe? Whatever, it looks really cool. Another big highlight for me has got to be RTX Remix. Man, this was a mind-blowing demo. When they pulled out Morrowind and it looked like this, the ability to take an older game and essentially import objects, environments, lighting, and then edit the game and play it back with edited elements could be an absolute game changer. Now, I have seen some folks actually speaking out against this type of remixing, and the arguments are pretty fair, you know? Like, you might take away the artist's intended ambiance, or you might lose things like a lighting effect that lit up that doorway so that the player would know where to go next. But the flip side of that argument is this might be our only chance of preserving these types of experiences. I mean, single player games without, you know, a season's pass or any other kind of games as a service elements are going the way of the dinosaur. And you know, thinking about whether or not my kids would be able to enjoy a game like Morrowind, I don't think so. Not without some changes. I mean, even for me, I got into Elder Scrolls with the Oblivion entry, and I went back and I tried to play Morrowind after beating Oblivion, and I was like, I don't think so. Throw in some better objects, throw in some better lighting, a few creature comforts, the kinds that the modding community has over the years built time and time again for classic games, and man, I mean, I wanna play it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the more tools we can put in the hands of talented PC gaming modders, the better, and I commend NVIDIA. Another big feature for RTX 40 series is their dual AV1 encoders. We haven't actually looked at NVIDIA's encoders yet because, you know, the thing I said before, but what we have been able to do is look at the hardware AV1 encoders on Intel's Arc GPUs, and so far, AV1 is looking extremely promising. We are talking similar performance to H.264 at around 60% the bit rate. Absolutely wild, especially if you're someone who wants to game stream, but you don't have an amazing internet connection, or you want to archive a ton of your gameplay footage and you don't want to deal with enormous file sizes. Also, studio drivers, NVIDIA Reflex. Okay, that's mostly stuff that we've seen before. So why don't we take a closer look at the I/O? We've got HDMI 2.1A, all right, as well as, actually this is a bit of a disappointment, 3 DisplayPort 1.4 ports. I was kind of hoping for DisplayPort 2.0 UHBR 10, because that's what Intel is shipping on their Arc GPUs, but I guess we aren't getting that. I do want to take a closer look at this Zotac card though. This thing is absolutely wild. Is that 9 heat pipes? Full-size backplate with backlighting. That's gotta be like, that's gotta be a mode switcher right here. I actually don't really know that much about it because the reality of it is, even at $1,600, people are gonna buy it, so ultimately you're gonna end up with whatever RTX 4090 is in stock. Even if this thing is only, you know, 30, 40, 50% faster than a 3090 Ti in traditionally rendered games, which it looks like it could very well be. NVIDIA really didn't want to talk about that much. 3090 Ti's are still going for like 800 to 950 bucks on eBay. 3090s though, 3090s are down like 700, 750, which means that could be a pretty compelling option compared to this. That's gotta be Jake leaving for the day. He's the only one with a card that loud. This is actually a greater than 3 slot card. Can you guys believe this? we've gotten to the point where, I mean, how far off just having like a 7 wide? Like you just put it in that top PCIe slot and it's less of a card and more of just like a module. You just take the whole thing and you just put the whole thing in there. It just takes up the whole space. You know, now that I've said it, someone like ASUS is totally gonna build that. Anyway, we can't really speculate on all the details when it comes to performance because we haven't been allowed to test the card and talk about it yet. So that's it, ShortCircuit unboxing, and get over on LTT so you can check out the full review.